Hey everyone, welcome to Average Joe Preparedness. My name's Rick, and I'm an Average Joe. On this channel, we usually cover basic emergency preparedness, practical preparedness, which is a very large subject depending on the individual, and then once in a while we'll touch base on worst case scenario, but there's other channels out there for that. And this is all based on an average person, because that's what I think I am. So that's what it's geared for, is what normal people can do when it comes to those things. On today's video, I tried it once. If you guys see it, basically what we're going to go over is this book right here. We'll get to that in a second. Now, I'm an advocate when it comes to when you start off anywhere in your preparedness journey for hard copies. If you guys see, I've got books back here. People use digital when it comes to information, when it comes to learning things. And so I figured I'd go over this book. I tried it once, it didn't work. I'm using a different format this time, and we'll see how it goes. Yes? Yes. Now, the reason I picked this book out of all of these is this is a type of checklist. It's written as a checklist, and I like that. I like things that are so you can learn. And it builds off itself in some places, and that's nice. And it has everything from, like I said, if you're starting in basic emergency preparedness, if you're past that and you're working into what I refer to as practical preparedness, and it even touches base up here for worst case scenarios. So that's the reason I'm using this book. What is it? Like information purposes, disclaimer. I get nothing off this. If you guys have been to my channel, I get nothing off of nothing that you see or that I hold up or whatever. So I get nothing from this. You guys can find it if you guys are interested. I'm sure you can find it on Amazon because that's where I got it. I don't know. I've had it for a bit. I don't know if you guys can tell by how flimsy it is. But yeah. And if anybody knows Mr. Cobb, because I don't know how to get a hold of him, if he doesn't like what I'm doing, he can get a hold of me and I'll take the video down. Yes? Yes. Okay, I'm going to try to squeeze a whole bunch of information into a little bitty space. So this is Countdown to Preparedness, the Prepper's 52-week course to Total Disaster Preparedness. I'm reading, by the way, by Jim Cobb. Now, this is based off of 1 year. Each week doing something. It's actually broke down into chapters. So you don't necessarily have to do that. If you get paid once a week and you want to do it that way, that's fine. If you get paid once every 2 weeks, if you get paid once whatever. I'm an advocate of things being adjusted for the individual. I make no secret of that. I think it's easier. It puts less pressure on yourself. Like if you get this book and go, oh my God, I have to get all that stuff done in week 1. Oh my God, I got to get all that stuff done in week 2. No, 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 no. Adjust it to you. This is how the book was written, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's how the book needs to be done. Does that make sense? All right, let's try to squish a whole bunch of stuff, little bitty thing. Yes? Yes. Now, in the beginning of the book, like most books, it has a foreword, it has an introduction, and then it has a how to use this book. And I think you should not skip over that part if you get a chance. And it talks about at the end of each chapter, and again, this is based on weeks, but you can do it any way you want. You can mix the chapters up. You don't have to do them in order. I like doing things by lists. That's just the way my life is. But I went over this in another video, but I'm going to go over it again. And at the end of each chapter, it has assignments. And you can take these for what they're worth. But it has tasks, things that you should be doing. It has savings about putting aside a certain amounts of money that you can afford. It has water storage about putting aside certain amounts of water each time and they build up. And then it has a grocery list of things it recommends you purchase. And again, it's either weekly or bi-weekly or monthly or however you can do it. And all these things build up, accumulate, and in the end, you're going to be set up for success. Yes, I highly recommend not skipping over this part. Okay, we start off with chapter 1, which is, let's see if I can do this right, the basics. And it is pretty much about making lists. Now, this is where, if you're into basic emergency preparedness or if you're right here in the beginning of your journey, this is where most people get a little overwhelmed and a lot of people stop. And this is, if you can get past this, I highly recommend you work past this because things get easier. And it is about making lists. If you don't know what you have, where you are, what you don't have, where you're going, if you don't track that, I was taught in my last career that if things aren't tracked, they're not paid attention to. you need to write this stuff down. I don't know if you guys see off camera, I have pads of paper and writing utensils. I'm constantly writing things down as I think of them, prioritizing them, and taking them off my list. And then at the end, it gives you, and I wanted to use this as the example of the assignments, it gives you taskings about making lists. It starts off with the savings, the water, and the list of things you should get for food. Okay? Real quick, please start there. Start with making a list. I understand you don't want to do it, but you're not really going to get past that, or you're going to lose your way if you don't. Yes? Yes. The next chapter, chapter 2, and again, these don't have to be done in any order. However, I recommend the first ones you at least do, and that is out with the old. You need to go through everything. And again, this is a roadblock for a lot of people when they first start. Go through everything. You don't know what you have, what you don't have, what you need, and what you don't need. And clear it out, like spring cleaning. Look at it as spring cleaning. Like, I don't need this. Get rid of it. If you don't need it, it's just clutter. I mean, make sure you don't need it. Sell it if you can. Get some money. That's going to help you get some money for things that you do need. But clear out. Get yourself an area. It's like clearing your brain, clearing your mind. You need to know where you are so you know where you're going. You guys with me on that one? Just throwing it out there. It's one of those things you're going to have to get past so you can move on. Now, the next chapter is basic water storage. Now, we've gone over water storage in videos in the past. What I like about this book is he goes over the what's and the wherefores and how to do it safely, and then recommendations. I'd like to think no one's going to argue about the fact that you need water in the case of an emergency, whether it's a basic emergency or whether it's something a little bigger. And to give some examples, I'll show you. Okay, not selling anything. You guys know I get nothing from nothing, but it talks about you can use something as basic as this if you can afford something more, which I'm going to go over. And this is an old soda bottle. They recommend old soda bottles because they don't, what's the word? Bleed, I think is the word I'm talking about. The plastics as much as milk containers. But you can use small. You can get these by the big packs. You can get something a little larger if you like. A water bob, which I get nothing from these guys. I've gone over it before for storing water. All the way up to these larger containers. And if you want to get any bigger, or even bigger, I've shown you, I have very decorative 55-gallon drums that I use that for the water that comes off my roof for water storage. Yes, there's a whole plethora. This goes over some of those, but it goes over why you should do it and how to do it safely. Yes? Yes. The next chapter is a get home bag. Now, once again, I'll point out that each chapter it talks about the whys, why you should do it. It goes over recommendations. There's a nice little beginning checklist here for a get home bag. But I think that's really important. People get on these channels and they say, you need to get this. And a lot of times they'll come up with either no reason why or some fantastical worst case scenario. And a lot of the stuff that he goes over in these chapters is more basic and things I try to point out. Does that make sense? And we've gone over it before. Now, some people might say for basic emergency preparedness, you don't necessarily need a get home bag. And I'm not going to argue. This one is more geared towards practical preparedness. I'm not sure it goes all the way up to worst case scenarios. It may be up in this area. It depends on the individual. But we've gone over before. This one happens to be the one out of my vehicle that I practice what I preach. And I've shown you the one in the lovely lady in my last vehicle too, that having a get home bag, and I've given my reasons why. But once again, there's others here. Yes? Yes. And I want to take a moment to point out that this does not have to get overwhelming. The chapters, the things, the taskings, they can be put out over time for the individual. But it's a good, to be honest, instead of making a list of things you need to do, if you have the book, and again, I'm just plugging the book, I get nothing from it, you have basically the list there. That these are things I need to handle. These are things I need to get taken care of. You with me? And again, you don't have to do them in order. And if you disagree, if you believe you don't need a get home bag, well, then just bypass that chapter and go on to something else until you find something you do agree with. I'm pretty sure anybody who picks up this book is going to be 90%, or we can cut that back a little bit, 80%. And I'm an advocate of 80-20. So If 80% of what's in this book is good for you, I think it's a good idea. Just throwing it out there. Now, the next chapter covers evacuation kits. And some people might call them 72-hour bags, or some people might call them bug-out bags if you go with the bags. Some people just have totes that are either in their vehicle or close to their vehicle that they can grab and throw in there. Basically, evacuation kits. And it talks about why you may need to evacuate. I'd like to point those out. We don't really have time, and I've done it in the past. But I'm going to show you guys something that it doesn't matter how long you've been in this channel. I don't think I've ever shown these before. And the reason being is because they're not finished. But I do have a bag for myself and the lovely lady in my life, and those are in works. Because of my former career, I have had to pick up and leave quickly. And I grabbed a bag that was pre-made for me by me so that I had what I needed. Does that make sense? So again, it goes over the whys. It has a nice list of things you can do. It's an excellent source material. Yes? Yes. Okay, next is talking to your immediate family about prepping. Ew. Now that's a subject. That's a subject for discussion. There are some people that don't want to do it. And there's some people that do. And I've gone over, like the lovely lady in my life, I usually take care of this stuff and she's aware of it. Now, we're not talking basic emergency preparedness. I think everyone should talk to their family members about having a fire extinguisher, a first aid kit, how to use them, the emergency kits in your car. This takes it to another level, like basic preparedness and maybe touching base up here when it comes to worst case scenario. And that's for each person to decide for themselves where, who, and to what extent they want to talk to their family members. But it goes over why. And I agree, it would be nice if everyone was into preparedness. However, some people, they're just not ready for it. Yes? Yes. Now, the next few chapters, or we'll go over them really fast, is bringing in extra income. I don't know if anybody needs to be convinced that they need to try to do that, especially if they come up short. And that income can be used for preps. Prep consideration, special consideration for children, if you have them. I don't. Living with me, small children. And prep consideration for if you have pets. Now, everyone's going to have their own weight that they put on the last one and the first one. But that's for each person to decide for themselves, yes? But once again, it talks about why, there's steps to do it, and it gets you through. If you are one of those people that it counts to, that are in those things, you're not forgotten. Are you with me? We hit kind of a tough chapter, and that is calculating food storage and needs. Yeah. Now that's for each person, and you're going to have to figure out how to do it. And again, it's like making a list, and it can block people where they come to it and they're like, I don't want to do this. It's frustrating. It walks you through how to do it. And I'm going to say it is a good thing to take into consideration, because if you're not storing enough, you're going to end up coming short. If you're storing too much, you're wasting time and resources that could be used somewhere else. And if you're not storing the right things, you're setting yourself up for failure. Yes? So again, I admit, tough chapter, do it. Okay, then we move on to water filtration and purification. I've mentioned before in my career being around the world, I've seen what happens to people who drink bad water, and it is terrible. Yes? And this goes over, it starts with the simplest, boiling, then we're looking at bleach, and then it moves on to, I'm just going to show some examples. There's water purification tablets. If you guys, I've shown you this stuff before. This is the water filter. Again, I get nothing from nothing, guys. So don't there's no affiliation or whatever. This is the one I use because of the certification of the filters. I've done a video on the Life Straw, and you've also got the Sawyer Minis. I just popped these out. This is what I have. And it talks about why, which should be obvious, and the things you can do. Once again, starts off with the basics and moves up just a little bit at a time. Yes, water purification. I have seen what happens when you drink bad water. It's not pretty. Moving on. Now, some people may agree or disagree, but it is planting your garden. And you guys know I'm an advocate of gardens. I've been going over it for years. Yes. And it walks you through the whys and the wherefores. And then we move on to basic first aid supplies and training. I believe my last video, we just talked about that. How you guys have seen my first aid kits. I went over the basic trainings that you can get from the Red Cross. Yes? Yes. Next, it moves on to communication, and specifically two-way radios and cell phones. Now, admittedly, and I like to admit stuff here so you guys see that I am an average person, that I'm real, I'm not a salesperson or like a talking head, is when it comes to the radios, I haven't gotten there yet. They're on my list to try to find some really good handheld, like walkie-talkies or CBs, whatever it is. Don't get me wrong, we have cell phones. I think everybody does. But when it comes to that, it's on my list. I haven't got to it yet. And I sit here in front of you and I say, yeah, I haven't got there yet. Because those people I see on these videos, they're like, I have this and I have this and I have this and I have this and I have this. And I'm like, I don't know. I need a video, and that's why I started this channel. I need a channel for normal people who make mistakes. That's why I show them to you. Who don't have everything. That's why I tell you. You guys with me? Because I'm trying to tell you, you can do this wherever you are, and failure or not failure, coming up short at certain times is okay. Just don't stop. Yes? Now, the next couple of chapters cover hygiene, and that is human waste disposal and general just keeping things clean. Now, when it comes to, a lot of people don't want to think about it, but let me just go over a few things. This probably touches base on, but real life application. You guys know what one of these are? You guys seen these before? This is what I have. And everything stores in this. I actually got a larger container. I don't know if you guys can tell, it's a little taller. So that way you don't have to bend down as far. So yeah, the stuff I keep in the container, and these are bags, and they're double, it's called double duty. You guys, I'm plugging them, but I don't get nothing. And they're actually two, they seal twice. And if you guys understand what I'm talking about. Got the little things you throw in, so that way it doesn't stink. You can get just the kind that go for RVs. And if nothing else, you can always use kitty litter. And we have kitty litter for other reasons. You guys with me? And you don't have to get these kind of bags. Heavy construction bags will still work. Go ahead, ask me how I know. Yeah, I know. Now we move into medical. Over-the-counter prescriptions and staying on top of medical and dental issues. It gives reasons why you should have over-the-counter prescriptions, what medications, excuse me, not prescriptions, what kinds, store them. I'm hoping it's obvious, but once again, it's a checklist and it shows you how to do it. And staying on top of medical and dental issues. I'm an advocate, like I go get my teeth taken care of, scheduled regularly. I go and see my doctor regularly. I've mentioned that I have fairly good insurance. It only cost me 3 decades of my life to get it. But the point being is, I know people, like I know someone now who just, they never went to the doctor. And then they finally went to the doctor and they have so many things that they have to get taken care of that it's just huge to overcome instead of taking care of things a little bit at a time. You guys with me on that? Just my opinion, but hopefully you can see the math. And now we're up to week or chapter 19, and that covers networking. And I think we're gonna end this video here. And if you guys would like more videos on this book, let me know and I'll finish it up. But we've gone through 19 chapters. This is the 19th chapter. I think I'm going to do more videos anyways. I'll just put them off to the side. If you guys don't want to look at them, you don't have to. Again, I'm an advocate of checklists, and I'm an advocate of hands-on books that you can look at. I'm an advocate of this book. I get nothing from it, guys. And that is networking. And that is a subject for each person. It's allegorical. Some people don't want to talk about it, and some people do. How they do preparedness. And I think for emergency preparedness, basic emergency preparedness, I see no issue with it. I'll let people know that I have a fire extinguisher in my kitchen and that I have first aid kits, and then I've got an emergency kit in my car with jumper cables and stuff. It's not a big deal. Once you get here to practical preparedness, people know I have a garden. Once you get up here, yeah, that's for each person to decide for themselves. Yes? Yes. Okay, as I said, that's first 19 chapters I went over. I don't know what you guys think of the video. Hopefully, I had an opportunity, because I've seen content creators, and there's some that are very, if those people don't show you what they have, then they're just lying to you and blah, blah, blah. But then the opposite of that, I've seen the content creators, and they have all this stuff in the background, and they're like advertising it. But I thought this was an excellent opportunity to just show you some of the things that I'm pretty sure I've shown most of those things before. And then an opportunity to show 1 or 2 things that I hadn't yet, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know if I've ever shown the potty thing. You guys with me? And it's been used, by the way. Long stories, don't need to get into it. But I thought this was an opportunity to show you guys, once again, that I'm not just a talking head, that I actually am doing these things. And I can tell you the struggles, how long it's taken, whether they work or not. But anyways, I thought it was an excellent opportunity. Yes? Yes. So I'll try to shoot more videos on the chapters in this book. I don't know if I went over it too fast. I don't know if I went over it too slow. This is not my genre. This isn't what I normally do. But I touched base on the book once before, and there was I got a recommendation from one of my longtime people that I should do chapters on it, and then I should put it in a thing. And I'm like, and I was weighing it, and I'm like, I'm just going to do the video. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm going to separate it up. And then I guess I'll put it on a playlist, which is what they recommended, put it together. So, and I'm doing a little different, not just going over the checklist at the back of each chapter. I'm actually going over each chapter quickly. And hopefully you guys can see. Now, I'm not giving you this entire book in its entirety. I'm not giving you all information. I'm touching base. If you guys like it, I mean, you can take what I'm saying and put it on a checklist, or you can just get the book. I don't think it's that expensive. It wasn't when I got it. Or something like it. Again, I don't get anything off of these. Yes? Yes. Okay, that's enough rambling because I really don't know what I'm doing because I'm just an average person. Yes, and I'm doing a book review. What the hell? But anyways, I hope this finds you well. I hope you are happy. I hope you are positive. And I hope for whatever it is you believe you need to be, I hope you are being prepared.